You've reached Frontiers of Antiquity, a podcast exploring the places where civilizations collided, ideas traveled, and history changed forever. Thank you for listening.
Every time you tell someone that you're looking for your soulmate, you are actually quoting a hungover ancient Greek playwright.
Right.
Like a guy who genuinely believed humans used to be these terrifying eight-limbed monsters who were literally sliced in half by a jealous god.
It's completely wild to think about.
It is. And every time you wave your hands and tell a friend, oh no, we're strictly Platonic, you are referencing a conversation that, well, it ultimately contributed to the downfall of an entire empire.
Yeah, I mean, we use these phrases all the time. Soulmate, platonic love, they're completely baked into how we talk about modern relationships.
Oh, absolutely.
But their origin story is, it's anything but casual.
Right. They didn't just come from some modern rom-com or a greeting card company. They originated from a single, incredibly rowdy and historically pivotal dinner party in ancient Athens.
Yes.
And that is our mission for this deep dive. We are taking Plato's famous text, the Symposium, and we're going to make it really simple to follow.
Which I think is so necessary.
Yeah, exactly. And we're doing that by focusing heavily on the historical background, like the real, deeply flawed human beings who are actually in that room. And we'll explore how their conversation just totally redefined human desire, psychology, and the pursuit of wisdom.
Because, that is exactly how this text should be read. The Symposium takes these massive cosmic theories of reality and it grounds them in a very human, very messy reality.
Okay, let's unpack this. Set the scene for us here. It is 416 BC, and we are in Athens.
Yes. Specifically, we're at the home of a wealthy, incredibly successful playwright named Agathon.
Okay.
And the mood in the room is, well, it's a bit fragile.
Fragile how?
Well, this group of highly influential thinkers, writers, and politicians, they're all nursing pretty severe hangovers.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they had been partying relentlessly the night before because their host, Agathon, had just won Athens' prestigious tragedy competition.
So it's a celebration.
Exactly. He essentially took home the ancient equivalent of Best Picture. So he represents the absolute peak of elite cultural success and, youthful confidence.
So because they're all feeling the physical effects of the previous night's heavy drinking, they basically make a collective executive decision, like no heavy drinking tonight.
Right, they need a break. So instead of getting drunk all over again, they decide to play a parlor game.
A very intellectual parlor game.
Highly intellectual. They agree to go around the room and basically take turns giving these elegant speeches praising Eros, the god of love.
Now, before we get into the actual speeches and the definitions of love, we absolutely have to establish the historical background of who is sitting at this table.
Yes, it's so important.
Because understanding that context completely changes how this entire text feels.
It really does. Because what's fascinating here is the hidden tension of the dialogue. When ancient Greek readers picked up the Symposium years later, they read it with this profound sense of tragic hindsight. Plato deliberately captured these real, high-profile Athenian citizens at the absolute peak of their golden age, right before everything shattered.
Right. So it's essentially like reading the guest list of a glamorous high society dinner party on the Titanic.
Yes, that is a perfect analogy.
You are reading about these brilliant people sipping wine, having a great time, but you, the reader, know that the iceberg of the Peloponnesian War and complete political ruin is just, it's months away.
That is exactly how to look at it. The original readers knew that within just a few months of this sophisticated intellectual dinner party, this exact elite circle would be entirely torn apart.
It's so dark.
It is. We are talking about massive religious scandals, forced exile, and a devastating military betrayal that would literally bring Athens to its knees.
So keep that ticking time bomb in the back of your mind as we move to the table. Let's look at how the definition of love actually evolves throughout the night.
Yeah, it's quite a journey.
Because it starts with some very clinical, societal views of love before it shifts into something way more chaotic.
Exactly. So the first three speakers really represent the status quo of Athenian society. The first guy to speak is Phaedrus.
Who is he?
He's a wealthy, highly attractive young aristocrat. And his argument is essentially that love functions as a civic moral booster. He says love makes us brave, but purely out of shame.
Out of shame, like we do brave things just so our partner won't think we're cowards.
Precisely. Phaedrus argues that an army made entirely of lovers would be invincible.
Oh, I see.
Because no one would want to look cowardly in front of the person they love, so it inspires honor, and it basically prevents us from doing shameful acts.
So it's almost like modern social media posturing, right? Like you're doing good things just to maintain your reputation in the eyes of someone you desire.
That's a great way to put it.
But going back to our Titanic analogy, there is a massive historical irony here with Phaedrus, isn't there?
A huge one. I mean, just a year after this party, in 415 BC, Phaedrus was caught up in a massive real-world scandal.
Right.
He was implicated in defacing sacred statues around Athens, which were called herms, and for mocking sacred religious mysteries. So he was forced to flee the city in exile, and he lost all of his wealth.
Wow. So the guy preaching that love is this ultimate force that prevents shameful acts is literally exiled for a massive societal scandal a year later.
Exactly. The irony is just palpable.
That is heavy. So who follows the disgraced aristocrat?
Next up is Pausanias. He's an older Athenian aristocrat, and he is actually the lifelong romantic partner of the host, Agathon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, in ancient Athens, relationships between older established men and younger men were institutionalized, but they had very strict, complex social rules.
Right, it wasn't a free-for-all.
Not at all. And Pausanias essentially acts as the legal and ethical expert on this whole system.
And what's his definition of love?
He divides love into two distinct types. First, he says there's common love.
Which is what?
This is purely physical, instinctual desire for bodies. It's fleeting, it's shallow. But then there's heavenly love.
Okay, that sounds better.
Yeah, heavenly love is an intentional intellectual devotion. It focuses on the long-term growth of a partner's mind and virtue.
To put that in a modern context, I guess common love is like, mindlessly swiping on a dating app at 2 a.m., just looking for quick physical gratification.
Exactly.
Whereas heavenly love is seeking a genuine partnership where you're both actively trying to help each other grow.
Oh, yeah.
And he actually lived this out with the host, right?
He really did. His devotion to Agathon was legendary. I mean, years later, when Agathon moved to the Kingdom of Macedonia to write plays for the royal court, Pausanias left Athens and went right along with him. They stayed together until death.
Okay, so we have love as a moral booster and love as a sort of legal, ethical partnership. What is the third status quo view?
The third view comes from Aristophanes.
That's a mouthful.
It is. He's a prominent, highly educated doctor who basically views the entire universe through a medical lens. He actually appointed himself the sober officer of the party to ensure no one drank too much and ruined their health.
Which is just incredibly on brand for a physician.
Very on brand.
Okay.
And his view of love is highly scientific, almost biological.
How so?
Well, he argues that love isn't just a human emotion. He says it is a universal force of nature. You find it in medicine, in agriculture, in music.
Wow, okay.
Yeah. For Aristophanes, love is simply the act of finding harmony and balance between opposing forces, like hot and cold or wet and dry.
Okay, so up to this point, love is a civic duty, a legal partnership, or this big biological equation. It's all very neat and very orderly.
Very rational.
But here's where it gets really interesting, because the playwright speaks next, and suddenly love isn't a civic duty anymore. It becomes this chaotic, desperate tragedy.
Yes, Aristophanes. He is a fascinating figure.
He's the comedian, right?
He is. He was the undisputed king of old comedy, basically the most famous satirical playwright in Athens. He wrote these hilarious, deeply political plays that just openly mocked the elite. And his speech completely shatters the clinical vibe of the room.
If you are listening to this right now and you've ever felt that desperate, just illogical pull to find your other half, this is exactly where it comes from. Tell us the myth Aristophanes introduces.
Okay, so Aristophanes tells the group a story. He says that originally, human beings were not shaped the way we are now.
Right.
We were round, double-bodied creatures. We had 8 limbs, 2 faces looking in opposite directions, and we didn't walk. We sort of just rolled around doing rapid cartwheels.
I mean, it's such a bizarre, terrifying image.
It really is. But according to the myth, these double creatures were incredibly powerful and very ambitious. So ambitious, in fact, that they tried to scale the heavens and attack the gods.
Which never goes well in Greek mythology.
Never. So, fearing their power, Zeus decided to weaken them. He took a lightning bolt and sliced every single human perfectly in half, right down the middle.
And tied up the skin at the belly button.
Exactly, as a permanent reminder of our rebellion. And from that moment on, Aristophanes says, These newly halved humans were so miserable and so desperate that they did nothing but wander the earth searching for their severed half.
Wow.
And when they finally found them, they would just throw their arms around each other, wanting nothing more than to be fused back together.
Which is just wild to think about. That ancient, really weird story of an 8-limbed monster being chopped in half by a god. I mean, that is the literal origin of the modern concept of a soulmate.
It really is.
It's the idea that love isn't a civic duty or a biological balance. It's this desperate emotional chaos where we are just trying to heal a cosmic wound.
It perfectly captures the irrational, all-consuming nature of romantic love. It's this feeling of profound incompleteness.
So Aristophanes finishes this crazy story, and then the host, Agathon, gives his speech. And he's a poet, so it's incredibly flowery.
Oh, very much so.
He describes love as young, beautiful, sensitive, perfect, and wise. It honestly sounds like the absolute perfect toast at a wedding.
It is the ultimate idealized romantic view of love. Love is completely flawless.
But then Socrates steps up.
Yes. And Socrates was a staple of Athens, but he was drastically different from everyone else in that glamorous room.
How so?
Well, he was lower middle class, famously unkempt, eccentric. He walked around barefoot and possessed this unique, piercing intellect that just completely fascinated the elite youth of the city.
And he basically looks at Agathon's beautiful, perfect wedding toast about love and just utterly dismantles it. Right?
Gently, but yes, ruthlessly. Socrates shifts the entire conversation from idealized romance into pure psychological realism. He introduces a completely new definition.
Which is?
That love is the desire for what we do not have.
Because his core logical argument is that you cannot desire something you already possess.
Precisely. I mean, if you are already tall, you don't desire to be tall. So, Socrates argues, if love desires beauty and goodness, as Agathon just claimed, then love itself cannot be beautiful or good.
Right.
Love must actually lack those things. Love is a state of emptiness that is constantly reaching for something to fill it.
Wait, I have to push back on this a little bit. Because isn't defining love fundamentally as a constant lack just? I mean, isn't that incredibly bleak?
It sounds that way, yeah.
Like, is Socrates basically saying that love is like being perpetually hungry and you are just never allowed to feel full?
It definitely sounds bleak at first glance. But if we look at the history of psychology, this is actually a revolutionary moment.
How do you mean?
Socrates is essentially laying the groundwork for the idea that human beings are fundamentally driven by an unshakable feeling of emptiness.
So if you're listening to this and you've ever felt that restless, empty feeling right after achieving a massive goal like getting a promotion or buying a house you thought would finally make you happy, Socrates is basically diagnosing you right now.
Exactly. He is identifying that human nature is always searching for something outside of itself to feel complete. The lack isn't a punishment. It is the engine that drives all human ambition and desire.
Okay, but if love is just this endless engine of hunger for what we lack, how do we ever find fulfillment? Like, how do we ever actually get full?
Well, that is exactly where Socrates takes the conversation next. He tells the room that he actually learned the true nature of love from a wise woman, a priestess named Diotima.
Diotima.
Yes. She taught him that love isn't a god. Instead, love is a spirit that bridges the gap between mortals and the divine.
And she provides a solution to this constant hunger, like a guide, basically.
Yes. Diotima introduces what we now call the ladder of love.
The ladder of love.
Right. She explains that love is meant to be a developmental ladder and physical attraction is merely the bottom rung. You are not supposed to stay there. You are supposed to climb.
Okay, this is a massive philosophical concept, so let's break down the mechanics of this ladder. How exactly do we climb it? Like, why do we move from one rung to the next?
Well, let's look at rung one. You start by falling in love with a single beautiful body. Just one person's physical beauty. That is the initial spark of desire.
Makes sense. That's where almost every romance starts. You see someone attractive across a room.
Exactly. But then your perspective broadens to rung two, which is all beautiful bodies.
So you start noticing everyone.
Basically. You realize that the physical beauty in your partner is mathematically and aesthetically similar to the beauty in someone else. You begin appreciating physical beauty on a broader, universal scale.
Oh, I see.
You realize obsessing over just one body is actually quite small-minded.
Okay, so you are abstracting the idea of beauty. You are stepping back. What forces you up to rung three?
Rung three is beautiful souls, and this is the first major leap.
Okay.
You realize that physical beauty eventually fades, but a Percy's character endures. So you move past the skin-deep attraction and you fall in love with someone's mind, their ethics, their virtue. You find their inner world far more intoxicating than their outward appearance.
All right, I'm with you on loving a beautiful mind. But rung 4 takes us entirely outside of the individual, right?
Yes, it does. Rung 4 is beautiful laws and institutions.
Wait, hold on. I need to stop you there. Falling in love with a social institution.
I know, it sounds...
That sounds like falling in love with the DMV or the IRS. How on earth is that romantic or driven by desire?
It's definitely a leap. It requires a shift in how you view the world.
Okay.
Once you love a beautiful soul on rung 3, you naturally start to ask, well, where do good souls come from? Right? You realize that good character doesn't just happen by accident in a vacuum. Good people are shaped by good societies, fair laws, and strong educational systems.
I see where this is going.
So your love zooms out, you stop focusing just on the individual, and you fall passionately in love with the systems, the laws, and the culture that actually produce those good people.
I see. So it's causality. You love the factory that makes the beautiful thing, not just the beautiful thing itself.
Precisely. Which brings us to rung 5, beautiful knowledge or the sciences.
Okay, we're getting very abstract now.
Yes, you realize that good laws are based on truth and reason. So you fall in love with learning, with grand universal ideas. You are basically desiring wisdom itself.
Which leaves only the absolute top of the ladder, rung 6.
The ultimate peak. At the very top, you don't just love things that have beauty, you perceive the form of beauty itself.
The form of beauty.
Yes. You are no longer looking at temporary, imperfect copies of beauty, like a nice face, a good law, or a clever scientific theory. You perceive absolute, perfect, unchanging, spiritual beauty.
Okay, to make sure this makes sense, is the form of beauty kind of like the mathematical concept of a perfect circle?
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
Like if I draw a circle on a piece of paper, it's going to be a little wobbly or flawed. Every physical circle in the real world is imperfect. But we only recognize them as circles because we all share this invisible, flawless, perfect idea of a circle in our heads.
That is a phenomenal analogy, yes. Socrates is saying that everything beautiful on earth is just a wobbly, flawed sketch of the ultimate form of beauty. Reaching the top of the ladder means your soul finally comprehends that perfect, invisible reality. It is the ultimate spiritual truth that gives meaning to everything below it.
So what does this all mean for us? Let's bring this back to that phrase we mentioned at the very start, Platonic love.
Right.
When you hear people say that today, they usually just mean we are friends, we aren't sleeping together.
Right.
But looking at Diotima's ladder, that completely redefines the concept for the listener.
Completely. For Plato, Platonic love doesn't mean a stagnant, sexless friendship. It means using that initial physical attraction as just the launch pad.
It's a starting point.
It's a spark, and that spark is supposed to drive you into a deeply passionate, active, intellectual partnership aimed at making both people wiser and more virtuous as you climb toward ultimate truth.
It's an active pursuit. And it's just so pristine and logical. You reach this perfect spiritual peak with this beautiful theory of forms.
Yeah.
But right as the dialogue hits this magnificent high note, the messy reality of being a human being literally kicks the door down.
It really does. The ending of the Symposium is just a masterclass in literary drama.
It's cinematic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Just as Socrates finishes explaining this perfect ascent to absolute truth, the party is violently interrupted. A man named Alcibiades crashes through the doors.
And he is not there to sip water and talk about abstract mathematical circles.
Far from it. Alcibiades is a brilliant, breathtakingly handsome, fabulously wealthy military general.
Okay.
He was raised by Pericles, the greatest statesman in Athens. He is utterly obsessed with fame, glory, and power. He is essentially the ultimate rock star of the ancient Greek world.
Right.
And when he crashes this quiet intellectual party, he is completely intoxicated, he's leaning on a flute girl, and he brings a loud band of revelers with him.
So the serene philosophical game is just ruined. Does he even try to give a speech about the god of love?
No, he refuses. Instead of praising Eros, he gives this raw, incredibly honest and almost painful speech praising Socrates himself.
Really?
Yeah. Alcibiades confesses that he has a deep, messy, unrequited infatuation with Socrates.
The rich, handsome, rock star military general is obsessed with the barefoot, unkempt, lower-class philosopher.
Yes. It's amazing. Alcibiades confesses his intense attraction to Socrates' brilliant mind. He even admits that he has repeatedly tried to seduce Socrates.
Oh, wow.
But he laments almost angrily that Socrates absolutely refuses to be seduced by his physical charms.
Oh, wait. So Socrates isn't just preaching this ladder of love. He is actually living it.
Exactly.
By rejecting the most beautiful, powerful man in Athens, he is proving he is completely unbothered by the physical rung of the ladder. He is already at the top.
Yes, Alcibiades is providing a real-world, living example of Socrates' philosophy in action. Socrates cannot be distracted by physical beauty because his soul is focused on the ultimate truth.
That is brilliant writing.
It is, but if we connect this to the bigger picture, here is where the final historical hammer drops.
The Titanic finally hits the iceberg.
Right, remember the tragic hindsight we talked about at the beginning?
Yeah, that they were all doomed.
Exactly. This exact tension we see at the party between perfect, elevated philosophy and deeply flawed, ambitious human beings plays out in devastating reality. Shortly after this party, Alcibiades convinced Athens to launch a massive, highly risky military invasion of Sicily.
Driven completely by his ambition.
Yes. But before the fleet even arrived, his political enemies back home used those exact same religious scandals we talked about earlier with Phaedrus to frame Alcibiades.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they ordered him to return and stand trial for his life. But instead of facing trial, Alcibiades defected.
He betrayed his own city.
He defected to Athens' mortal enemy, Sparta. He gave them crucial military intelligence, completely flipping the course of the Peloponnesian War and ultimately ruining Athens' empire.
And what happened to Socrates, the man who tried to teach him about the perfect forms?
Well, in 399 BC, a defeated, bitter city of Athens executed Socrates. The official charge was corrupting the youth. And historians widely agree that the erratic, destructive behavior of the exact people at this dinner party, specifically brilliant but disastrous youths like Alcibiades, contributed directly to the city's distrust and ultimate execution of Socrates.
It just makes you marvel at Plato's genius as a writer. Because, most ancient philosophy is just dry, dense lectures.
Right, it's very abstract.
But Plato frames these incredibly massive cosmic theories of reality inside a rowdy, hungover, and ultimately tragic dinner party. He forces the reader to confront a really uncomfortable reality.
Which is what?
Can these perfect, beautiful theories of love and truth actually survive the messy reality of human jealousy, our physical flaws, and our political ambitions?
It brings the abstract crashing down to the practical. It really asks if philosophy can actually withstand the chaos of humanity.
Which brings this whole journey right back to you listening to this. We've gone from hangovers and eight-limbed monsters to spiritual ladders and the fall of an empire.
We covered a lot of ground.
We did. And it forces you to ask, where do you currently sit on Diotima's ladder?
That's a great question.
Are you still on the first few rungs, focusing purely on the physical? Or are you actively climbing? And maybe more importantly, how do you view the things you lack in your own life?
Right, how do you see that emptiness?
Are they just sources of pain and frustration, or are they the essential hunger that drives you to seek something higher?
This dialogue completely reframes how we experience our own desires. It really turns our emptiness into a tool.
We want to thank you for joining us on this exploration of the Symposium. It really is amazing how a single, chaotic conversation from ancient Athens managed to lay the foundations for so much of our modern psychology and literature.
It is a profound testament to the enduring power of these ideas. They survive because they are just so deeply human.
But before we go, I'm going to leave you with one final thought to mull over.
Okay.
If Socrates is right, and love is fundamentally driven by a psychological desire for what we lack, what happens to us if we actually manage to reach the very top of Diotima's ladder?
Oh, that's interesting.
If we perceive the absolute perfect truth and finally have everything we ever wanted, does our capacity for love just disappear because the hunger is finally gone? Or does it transform into something completely unrecognizable to the rest of us who are still just down here desperately searching for our severed half?